So I had mentioned in my last video a couple times this book here, The Golden Age of Murder. This covers various aspects of just different Golden Age mystery authors, the British ones. So you have Dorothy L. Sayers. I haven't read any of Anthony Berkeley's work. Of course, Agatha Christie. I think Marjorie Allingham was a later one. Christiana Brand, that was the one I was trying to remember last time. I just couldn't bring her name to my brain. And she, I forget, some of her titles are really clever. I believe she has one that's called, I can't remember. I remember her titles being really clever, but I haven't actually read any of hers. So you have topics like in here, just they're talking about how some, with sometimes real world events would affect the plot. They talk about how they wanted Arthur Conan Doyle to join their detection club, and he was like, nah, I'm too old. So I believe that's the time when Chesterton ended up taking over as their president. And Christie took over a point after him. And at one point she did it like co-presidential with somebody, because Christie didn't really like to be pushed to the forefront. She just kind of wanted to write her mysteries and do her thing. But yeah, you also have Father Rode? No, it's not Rode. You have a Catholic priest who's a part of their detection club as well. Sayers, let's see. It talks about Christie's disappearance at a point in here. I don't think John Rode was the name of the priest. Oh, what was the priest's name? Anyway, it's all in here. It talks about the different detection club people, and it's well written. It goes into each of them to a certain extent. The priest is the one who put together the so-called rules of the detection club, and I'm trying to flip through and find those rules. Oh, here's some of the names. Author gallery. So you have G.K. Chesterton, H.C. Bailey, you have Bentley, Berkeley, of course, Christie. I haven't read any Coles, and the Coles wrote together, if I remember correctly. Cunnington. I believe I've read one of Croft's. Sorry, I'm trying to turn both pages one-handedly. Father Knox, that was his name. I knew it wasn't John Rode. Okay, I haven't read any of Dane's or Freeman's or Gareth. I have a lot of people I still need to read. I've read Knox, and if you haven't checked them out, there are, I believe there's at least 2, if not 3, books with the detection club members of this era. There were later ones put out. I believe the detection club might actually still be around, just with a different, a more modern cast of authors. But like your original people, you had Ronald Knox, who was writing in the books. You had Christie, a couple other people. There are 3 of the Detection Club books I've read. One was them kind of writing like a round robin, where if you've ever written in a writing group where you'll be like, okay, now it's so-and-so's turn to write. Now, usually when I've seen it, it's been where everyone has their own character and then they write. That wasn't the case with this story. I want to say that's the one that has to do with the Admiral. And I can't remember the full name of the book, but that one is one where apparently like they had the plot going one way, and then one of the other authors took over and like, I'm taking it a different direction. So that was the first of the Detection Club books. Then they had another one where everyone wrote, like they took each other's characters and wrote something with each other's characters. Now, Christie smartly opted out for that. But I believe that's the one where she wrote an introduction to it, where she basically like went hard on her fellow detection club members and was like, this is what I think about so-and-so's writing, and this is what I think about so-and-so's writing. I think it was released posthumously. That's not how it's pronounced. Posthumously? Posthumously. Or at least in England. I believe it was released overseas prior to that. I always forget that Baroness Orczy, who wrote The Scarlet Pimpernel, was in the Detection Club. Dorothy L. Sayers, of course, John Rode. John Dixon Carr, I don't think I've read a lot of his. Marjorie Allingham, I've read a few of hers. And then Christiana Brand, I haven't read any of hers, although I intend to. But yeah, that's your group. I just wanted to find their rules. Father Knox was the one who put them together. Okay, first of all, I found the name of that Detection Club book. It was called The Floating Admiral. That was the first one, and here's who was involved. I believe G.K. Chesterton just did the introduction for it. And then here's Ask a Policeman, which is where they wrote a mystery, and then an Ashland, Scotland Yard detective would critique it and say how well that would have held up in real life. Now, I'm going to turn off the video again and try to go back to finding my Detection Club rules. All right, I found what I was looking for. First of all, I always forget that A.A. Milne was considered a member. And of course, you guys know him from Winnie the Pooh. And I have yet to read, I keep meaning to read his Red House mystery. And let this focus. There we go. And when that was, as you can see here, when it was reprinted, they had a dozen key points. The story should be written in good English. Love interest is undesirable, which is funny because that's not usually what happens. Both detective and villain should be amateurs. Scientific detection is too easy. The reader should know as much as the detective, and there should be a Watson. It is better for the detective to Wattonize than to soliloquize. Now, that was just Milne's ideas. Now, the more official ones put out by Father Knox were, okay, he had a decalogue, the 10 Commandments for a detective story writer, very much tongue-in-cheek. So, the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story, but must not be anyone whose thoughts the readers has been allowed to follow. We all know where Agatha Christie did not follow that rule. Anyway, have to give this a second to focus because otherwise I can't read it. There we go. All supernatural or preternatural agencies are ruled out as a matter of course. No more than one secret room or passage is allowable. No hitherto undiscovered poisons should be used, nor any appliance which need a long scientific explanation at the end. And for some reason, no Chinaman must figure in the story. I think because it says he was mocking thriller writers who relied on sinister Oriental villains. No accident must ever help the detective, nor must he ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. The detective must not himself commit the crime. The detective must not light on any clues that are not instantly produced for the inspection of the reader. The stupid friend of the detective, the Watson, must not conceal any thoughts which pass through his mind. Twin brothers and doubles generally must not appear unless we have been duly prepared for them. Rules so numerous and so stringent cannot fail to cramp the style of the author. The game is getting played out. Before long, it is to be feared, all the possible combinations will have been used up. And I want to read, Father Knox wrote other books too that I want to read. Besides writing mystery books, he also wrote books on Catholicism. Apparently, and I can't remember if I read it here or somewhere else, he started out as Anglican. Then when he converted to become Roman Catholic, he got disowned by his family, and that's when he started writing mystery books specifically, I believe, to kind of give himself a little bit of something coming in. I believe he was disowned when he became Catholic prior, of course, to becoming a priest. So the detection of the money from writing, I think, was helpful to him. Now, I can't remember if he stopped, like, started slowing down on his writing of mysteries once he started more of his writing as more religious things as a priest. That much I'm not sure. I need to dive more into Father Knox. I should probably look into a biography on him, because I actually don't know a whole lot about him other than what I just lined out for you. But they had an initiation ceremony, and this will be the last thing I cover for this book, because you really should read this book. And it was put together by Dorothy L. Sayers, and she cannibalized Knox's Decalogue for this. The ritual is often described as cloaked in secrecy. And but Chesterton, which is funny enough, he put it out on the Strand, so obviously it wasn't so secretive. So the person in charge would have been called the ruler. Do you promise that your detectives shall well and truly detect the crimes presented to them, using those wits which it may please you to bestow upon them, and not placing reliance on, nor making use of, divine revelation, feminine intuition, mumbo-jumbo, jiggery-pokery, coincidence, or the act of God? Candidate, I do. Ruler, do you solemnly swear never to conceal a vital clue from the reader? Candidate, I do. Ruler, do you promise to observe a seemingly moderation in the use of gangs, conspiracies, death rays, ghosts, hypnotism, trapdoors, Chinamen, supercriminals, and lunatics, and utterly and forever to forswear mysterious poisons unknown to science? Candidate, I do. Ruler, will you honor the king's English? Candidate, I will. So that just gives a flavor, not only of this book, but of what fun the Golden Age of Murder was with the Detection Club. It is kind of a cursory biography, at least in far as writing, of various different members of the Detection Club. It's a good place to start if you want to be introduced to new writers to read from that era. It basically gives you a checklist. And like I just said a couple minutes ago, oh yeah, I should look up more about Father Knox, because all I know about him is basically from this book and maybe one other source. So it just gives you, in case you actually needed it, more reading material. But yeah, this is my much longer than intended introduction to the Golden Age of Murder. Yeah, I highly recommend this. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope that you have a blessed day, and I will be back to our normal format later. God bless. Bye.